Hey everyone, it's Michael Kikle. I hope you're doing well today. I have a review here for another cartoon from when I was a kid. I just talked about its movie. I'll show you that in a moment in case you have forgotten about it. This is a 2002 show that came after the 2001 movie that kind of kicked it off a little bit. That film had a better look to it because of the budget. Despite the issues about this show, it's a blast. It ran from 2002 to 2006, all of those years ago. And I was right at the perfect age for it, and I've always enjoyed this despite it having its qualms that I'll get to in a moment. Kind of the same thing as I've restated from the review of the movie. But anyway, this is The Adventures of Jimmy Neutron, Boy Genius. Cool little show. About 60 episodes or so. It ran for 3 seasons and was roughly from 2002 to 2006, like I said, somewhere in there. I always loved this when I was a kid, but of course, like I said, I just reviewed the movie that kicked everything off from 2001. Really cool flick, just rewatched this and its show kind of back to back, and this really held up. Both held up. I was surprised. But there are the issues that you have with TV shows, especially from cartoons and kids shows from back in the day when you're a kid. This is a nostalgia review, but also a current checking it out again review. So, this is a complete series box set, by the way. I randomly found that at a Walmart one day, and I asked my mom, like, hey, Easter or whatever's coming up, can you get it for me? And she said, yeah, I picked it up, because it was dirt cheap. It was like 20, 25 bucks, something like that. Pretty cool. Anyway, I always loved Jimmy Neutron, Boy Genius when I was growing up. I always had a good time with it. I always thought it was fun. I liked the characters. I liked the animation with CG, because you have to understand, at that time, there were not many shows and movies for kids that were doing CG animation. Not really. You had some things like I talked about in the review for the movie, like Beast Wars or Cubics, that I think came out before this. You may have some anime stuff out there that had utilized it a little bit, but not a ton like newer anime does. You didn't have, a lot of the time, fully animated movies like that, aside from things like VeggieTales. And it wasn't super common, so having a show like this come around after a movie that kicked off, and when Nickelodeon advertised the movie, a lot of my friends and I really wanted to see it, and I watched it, I loved it. Then I found out there was the show coming out, and the show was really fun for the most part, and had some things about it that freaked me out. There's a couple of Halloween episodes that scared the crap out of me when I was a kid. I'll talk about that later, I guess. But I do have some other things here to show you, too. I have a VHS tape of the Jimmy Timmy Power Hour, the first one. There were 3 of these, where they had Fairly Odd Parents, or Fairy Odd Parents. Is it Fairly Odd Parents? Whatever the name of the show was. Do a crossover with Jimmy Neutron. They did 3 of these, dude. This first one, they're all included on the box set over here. I rewatched it. It was fun. I had a good time. It's not great. The second and third one, really awful, really shockingly awful, and that will factor into the review here. But then I have other things, like a couple of episodes put onto a set here. Attack of the Twonkies. Now I also have a Jimmy Neutron video game somewhere on my PS2 console. I think it's somewhere over on my shelf over there. I pointed with my pinky, that's right. Accept it and go along with it. But these were really interesting for their time. We had never seen anything like this where we had Fairly Odd Parents come over to CG animation instead of being hand-drawn, and also have Jimmy go to hand-drawn animation, which the voices don't really fit. It really showed me when I rewatched these recently for this review how much casting choice really matters, because when those characters cross over to the 2D or the 3D, the voices don't fit. Very strange stuff. If you haven't witnessed it before, you should take the time out and try to witness that. But anyway, getting back to the overall show here, like I said in the movie review for the actual Jimmy Neutron movie, this is kind of a ripoff in concept of Dexter's Laboratory. And that's a shame. It's usually a young boy who is a genius named Jimmy Neutron who could do things to either solve a very stupid problem, like in this show's first couple of episodes, like just something as simple as growing up and folding your pants. And folding your pants properly. He has to create a whole thing where there's like an AI system and a microchip in pants now to try to make them fold themselves. They come alive, they attack the town. They bring other pants to life and attack the town. That is a wild episode, but man, it was fun. This show in general was fun, despite that little essence of ripoff from the Dexter's Laboratory TV show, which I do think is superior to this, from my memory at least. I haven't seen that show in a while. I watch handfuls of episodes around Christmas time on different DVDs I have, but I do have the complete series in a bootleg set, just so you know. I plan on reviewing that at some point in the future, God willing. But this show still maintain this fun. And like I said in my review for the movie, it has this feeling of summertime. There's something about it that feels like a summertime adventure. And Jimmy hanging out with his friends in pretty much every single episode makes it a blast. The cast do a great job, and I love the cast of the Friends. Jimmy is well cast. Carl, his best friend, who's a chubby kid, who's a nerd who loves llamas and food, and he is just weird. He sings, he hums, he dances and stuff. Carl is an absolute weirdo, but you cannot tell me, as an adult, that he does not become your favorite character. Sheen, the other friend, was my favorite character when I was a kid in this show. I love Jimmy and all, but Sheen and Carl were the real standouts for me. Sheen, after like the first episode of this, they really kick off and have him really take off as a character and really do a lot of cool, fun stuff with him. He's a blast, but Carl as an adult really makes my day. When I was rewatching the show, I laughed so much. My wife would laugh because Carl was so uniquely funny in a kid's cartoon. He sounds like Sam Vincent, who does a lot of stuff like Double D from Ed, Edd n Eddy. I don't think it's him, obviously, but Carl is hilarious. I love him in the movie, I love him in the show. He's great. He's an asthmatic, he wears glasses, he has a lot of health problems, or so he says. He's sheltered very much, and he's a blast. And Sheen, the other friend of Jimmy, is a kid obsessed with a superhero called Ultra Lord. He wears an Ultra Lord shirt for basically every single episode of the show. He wears this goofy Ultra Lord kid's mask, you know, with a string over the back of the head and stuff to keep it attached to your face. He wears that a lot. He has all the action figures. There were entire episodes dedicated to Sheen's love for Ultra Lord. One in particular that was really touching about Sheen's dad trying to relate to him and not really being able to. And that was really compelling as an episode, despite the show not really always taking itself very serious. And like I said, there were episodes too that I had forgotten about, and the trauma came back, that were Halloween-themed. One involving A Nightmare in Retroville, I think is the episode title, and another one involving a sleepover with Jimmy and Timmy, listen to me, Jimmy, Sheen, and Carl, where they have a machine that makes them pizza. Carl wakes up in the middle of the night, hits a bunch of buttons, and the pizza comes out, but it has a face now, and it is the most evil, creepy-looking shit with CG animation. It looks like it's made out of skin. It's weird. But the pizza has like pepperonis for eyes and stuff. It's very unnerving. And rewatching it this time, I got chills from the trauma of how much that scared me. And I was a kid who was into horror as a kid, with Twilight Zone, Goosebumps. I loved horror. I loved Jason and Freddy and Michael. Mainly Michael and Jason. I don't think I saw Freddy until I was like 12. But still, I grew up on that stuff. I love that stuff to this day. And that stuff didn't scare me anywhere as much as this scared me. Those two Halloween-esque episodes. But they don't really do more of that. I don't think there's really any Christmas episodes or anything like that. I'm really kind of not remembering properly. But most of the show takes place during the summertime anyway. Even the Halloween-themed episodes feel like it's summertime, which is kind of a unique touch for a kid's cartoon. I hadn't seen much of that, at least from what I remember when I was a kid. Most of them had different seasons and stuff like that. Even down to Ed, Edd n Eddy went from summertime into the fall when the kids had to go back to school later. But anyway, the voice cast do a really good job on the show. The animation is so much smoother, at least in the later seasons. Like I would say, the first season you kind of have, especially in the beginning of the first few episodes, a lot of wonky animation, whether it be voice sync up with the voice actors, which isn't as bad as it sounds, but when you see it, it's not perfect. When the character models have to run away from a bad situation, that looks really goofy. The way their head bobs, the way their body kind of runs, it's almost like when you see South Park for the first time, and you can't help but laugh about how they kind of just click back and forth as they walk. They're kind of just a standard figure who don't really have legs that move like a regular cartoon character. Jimmy Neutron has that, but it makes you laugh like the way the first time you see South Park does. It's kind of goofy and stupid looking, but it is a children's show. Parents weren't paying attention to that. Kids weren't. So, it's a modern day hindsight complaint. But it's not really a complaint. It's fun charm, I think, more than anything. Now, I'm starting to lose my voice. I think I recorded too much back to back because these both were kind of long videos. I didn't expect to talk about the movie for 17 minutes. Forgive me for that review as well, but I think it was a good review, so oh well. There's some other characters in here too, like Cindy, Jimmy's rival, who is the smart chick at school, who is not as smart as him, obviously, but she does a lot of things to prove that she at least has common sense that Jimmy sometimes does not have. Her best friend Libby is in here. Sheen has a really big crush on her. That makes me laugh a lot. Libby is fun. She loves music. She wants to be a singer someday. I really like Jimmy Neutron's movie and show. I think both are really compelling and fun. And like I said about the movie, I think you could sit kids down from back then or back now, I guess, or now. Why did I say back now? Who cares? You could show this to any kid ever, and I think they would have a blast with the show or the movie. Despite the first season of the show, especially in the first like 10 episodes or so of this particular show, being a little wonky with the animation and stuff. But overall, the concepts, the ideas for stories, all of that are really fun, and I had a good time rewatching the show, and if I didn't tell you enough that they made me laugh a lot, that the show doesn't really have many adult jokes. There's kind of stuff that are not really adult jokes that kind of fly under the radar because of how subtle they are. For example, Carl has a thing for Jimmy's mom. He thinks she is beautiful. There are entire episodes where there are little jokes thrown in about Carl basically wanting to get rid of Jimmy's dad, Hugh, to try to get with Jimmy's mom. That stuff was so well done. It's so well done. The writing of it is really well done, which is impressive because a lot of the writing of the show is very simplistic. It's not really complicated at all. You usually have a lot of Jimmy last minute, almost deus ex machina moments where he just thinks, oh yeah, I could do this to get us out of this terrible, deathly situation, and he does it. There's a lot of kind of crush romance stuff between Jimmy and Cindy where they clearly have a little bit of a thing for each other. They never really get to each other in a better way. And they kind of become more friends as the show goes on, which is kind of cute. This is a really fun show. The music is really good for it too. It doesn't have the amazing soundtrack with things like NSYNC and whatever, like the movie does. But the show itself, the music they picked out, even the intro song, has like this James Bond twinge to it, if you will. And I think that was really cool too, as a cool choice. The show itself is so much about inventions and ideas and cool gadgets, you know, like Jimmy's backpack. Backpack. What am I saying today? I can't talk, I'm sorry. His backpack has like little rockets on the side that he can fly with. I love his hover car. He has a rocket that he has come out of his garage and stuff. His underground lab is something that's really highlighted in this movie. And I don't even remember if it was in the show or in this show versus in the movie. I don't think it was in the movie as much. But him being a genius kind of comes to bite him in the ass quite a bit. And I think this show really highlights that you can be really smart and inventive, but you don't have common sense. It could really harm you or the people around you. Jimmy's dad, though, let me tell you about that. I love Hugh Neutron. I didn't talk about him enough in the movie review or in the show review. He is so funny. He's the best of the adult characters, despite my love for a lot of characters out there, like Carl's dad. Hugh Neutron has some of the best moments and quotes from a cartoon I've ever seen in my life. He rivals Dexter's dad on Dexter's Laboratory as one of the best adult characters of all time. I think you could show this man's face to anybody my age, they would know who this man is because of how funny he was as a kid or as an adult. He loves pie, he loves ducks, and he's great. I love him. He's just an absolute buffoon, and he's funny as shit, and I love him deeply. Anyway, I don't really have much more to say about this show. It is a blast for an early days CG cartoon. It's a fun time, and I recommend it highly if you haven't seen it before. The only things that really are rough about the show that will take down my rating of a little bit is the early animation for the show for that first maybe 10 episodes or so. And then, like I said, the Jimmy Timmy Power Hours are rough. The first one's kind of rough, but at least it's decent and it's good, I would even say. The second and third are so shockingly bad that, like, I do not remember them being that bad. It was clearly a big cash-in for Nickelodeon. I don't blame them. I would have done the same thing. But the show itself, Jimmy Neutron, Boy Genius, or The Adventures of Jimmy Neutron, Boy Genius is the actual title of this. It's a blast. I recommend it highly, and if I had to rate it on a 5-star basis, I would easily give The Adventures of Jimmy Neutron, Boy Genius, I keep forgetting the rest of the title, a really high 4 out of 5 stars, just like I gave the movie. I think it really deserves it. It's a really good time for the most part. I thought the show would be perfect from what I remember of it. It's not, but it's really close. It's a really good time if you love the film and don't mind kind of a cheaper looking color scheme and animation, and some of the costumes and stuff change. Like Jimmy doesn't wear shorts like he does in the movie. Cindy doesn't wear a pink shirt and pigtails like she does in the movie. They have like a regular consistent outfit they wear in here, despite the animation and budget not being as high as the movie for every episode. This is a really fun one, and I do recommend it if you do love that film quite a bit like I did. Maybe you've only seen the movie, or maybe you've only seen the show and you haven't seen the movie, or vice versa. I recommend both. Both are a really good time, and I think you'll have a good time whether you're an adult or a kid watching this. The Adventures of Jimmy Neutron, Boy Genius is a blast. 4 out of 5 stars, like I said. Have you seen the show recently? Have you watched it at all? I'd love to hear all of that down below too. What do you think about the movie? Let me know your thoughts on all of that stuff down in the comment section of my video here. I'd love to hear everything you have to say. I'm gonna go get some Taco Bell because food and Carl. Carl makes me think about food. Anyway, thank you all for watching, guys. Catch you later. God bless you all. What's your favorite Nickelodeon cartoon? I'd love to hear that down below too. Let me know. God bless you guys. Goodbye.